And I can honestly say it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done, ever.
Let's meet two people who have many a story to tell from the 80s. Martyn Ware and Gregory from Heaven 17. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well.
Top form.
Let's talk about this tour. This is very exciting. Sound with Vision Tour, 13 dates across the UK, starting in London on November the 6th. What can you tell us about this as a show, as a tour? What can people expect?
I guess it kind of started at the end of the last tour, which was probably, I don't know, maybe 18 months ago, something like that. And James Strong, who's a film director, a friend of mine who I do a lot of work with. I write music for film and television, and so that's how we met. But we've become really good friends. And he came to see the last Heaven 17 show of the tour, and it was at Shepherd's Bush Empire. And he was just blown away by it. Not just the kind of concert, not really this as well, the music as well, and the songs as well, but the kind of relationship that we've got with that audience and the way we are together on stage, and just the kind of love, I guess, that he felt, for the whole thing. He said it was really emotional, and he really wished he'd brought a crew and filmed it, not necessarily just the gig again, but just talking to people. And it just kind of tricked something in my mind. And I just thought, well, how about for the next tour? Because, it's always nice to have a reason to do a tour, whether it be your 30th anniversary or your 40th anniversary or the first time whatever, you know. So I just said, why don't we make that the reason for the tour? We'll actually film parts of the tour, but not just like filming the gig, filming them, filming that reaction, filming the audience, talking to the audience, getting involved in what they think about Heaven 17, what makes them come to Heaven 17 concerts 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 200 times, which some people do, So there's obviously a lot of love there. And we kind of talked about the idea and threw it around for a bit, and we just thought, yeah, we love it. Well, that's a really quite individual. I don't think that's ever been done before, really.
No, and also it's not just about us. It's really about this phenomenon of people of a certain age who used to follow us back in the day, and their children coming to see us and wanting to obviously relive their youth to a certain extent, but also just almost supporting like a football team.
Yeah.
And doing multiples. I mean, I don't think I've ever been to see any individual act more than 10 times in my life.
Well, I was going to say this because I'm the same as you on that front, and yet we did a request show for our birthday a couple of weeks ago, and I had people phoning in. I had a Duran Duran fan that has named his kids Rio and Taylor. I had a Bon Jovi fan that's seen them over 200 times, and your audience is very loyal like that, aren't they? They're major fans of yours.
Yeah.
Tell me about Sumo. Who's Sumo?
Sumo is the guy that's been to actually one more concert than I have. He's actually beaten me.
How? How's that even possible?
No, it's just a kind of... we were supporting Erasure on a tour quite a while ago, mid-90s, I think, towards the end of the 90s. And we were supposed to go to Toronto for a date. Everything was set, everybody was going, all the tickets are sold. But for some reason, I don't know if something happened, and we had to cancel. But Sumo still went.
Still there.
He was there. He went to the venue.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So he's been one more time. And quite often, I'll mention him on stage and I'll just say, come on, Sumo, how many gigs is this today?
And it's about 250 now.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Every band needs a Sumo, really, don't they? Let's be honest.
I get the audience shouting, Sumo!
Sumo! Yeah,
Sumo!
Absolutely. This is particularly special as well because obviously through the 80s, you didn't do any live gigs. You chose not to play live. What was your reasoning behind that?
I guess really it was just when we started. It was kind of 81, and it was pretty much the inception of MTV and the idea that you could now make videos and kind of sell your wares, as it were.
But am I right in thinking you also did turn down money to perform in America? Is that right?
Quite a lot of money, yeah.
What are we talking?
I think it was $500,000 for like 4 dates in Southern California.
Do you regret it?
Yeah.
Yeah, damn right.
Are there other things that came your way that you said no to that you regret in hindsight?
I definitely, there's a couple of things, yeah. When I was doing my production stuff after Tina Turner and stuff. I was offered Bette Midler, and I thought, well, I think she's over. And then she went on to have a 25-year career, winning like multiple awards, #1 albums in America. What do I know?
Wow.
Nothing.
Oh.
This was before Wind Beneath My Wings, I'm guessing, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, she was a massive star. It was almost like a curse for me. But,
Having said that, though, you did make lots of right decisions. Let's just mention some of the other artists that you guys work with, because it's quite the list, like ABC, Chaka Khan, Grace Jones, Terence Trent D'Arby, Mark Armand, Erasure. And we have to talk, you've mentioned Tina Turner already. We must talk about Tina Turner, because you helped turn her career around, effectively.
Turn
Turner
well,
around. Yeah. God, this is working very well today, isn't it? How did that come about, Martyn?
It was when the Human League split, we formed a production company called British Electric Foundation, which is like a kind of, we were envisaging it as a mini Motown type thing, like a production unit. We'd write songs and blah, blah, blah. And Heaven 17 were the first act. Anyway, we put out an album, a BF album. One of the tracks, which was like cover versions in electro soul style, was Tina. And we did a cover version of Ball of Confusion. And we loved it, and the record company loved it, and it came out, and it got to 43, I think, so it didn't get on top of the pops, and didn't think anything more about it, really, except she was brilliant. And then Roger Davis called us up one day and said, would Heaven 17 write a couple of songs for her new album? And
Talking about regrets.
but we were right in the middle of writing and recording Luxury Gap at the time, so we just simply didn't have time to do that. But managed to find, I said, trying to find a way around it, I said, look, could do a couple of cover versions. And so, fortunately, the two things that I most wanted to do with her was Let's Stay Together and Bowie's 1984, because I knew she liked Bowie and liked Al Green. And she agreed to both of them, and they both made it onto the album.
And they did pretty well, didn't they?
Oh, I think Let's Stay Together was the biggest selling 12-inch record in American history at the time.
Am I right in thinking you're both on backing vocals on this as well?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that's the most nervous I've ever been on a TV show, singing backing vocals live with Tina Turner on Let's Stay Together.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was absolutely terrified.
And I would have thought just working with her in the studio is quite overwhelming, isn't it?
She's such a lovely person and calm, very calm person. It puts all that to ease.
Yeah.
She's lovely.
Wow.
And also, everything's first take. She was only in the studio about half an hour, I think.
One take Tina?
Yep.
Amazing. Can we talk about how you guys met? Because we've talked about you being from Sheffield. Martyn, you were in the Human League, obviously. You were a photographer, Glenn, is that right?
I was. I mean, but I met Martyn before that, even before the Human League. We met just playing in bands together with really stupid names like Musical Vomit.
And you then get your record deal with Virgin and you work on the Penthouse and Pavement album. Did that come together quite quickly for you both?
Came together very quickly because the Human League had just split up. The only asset that they had that they couldn't split was a recording studio in Sheffield. So we worked nights, the Human League worked days, and we wrote Penthouse and Pavement there, and they wrote Dare in the same studio.
Wow.
Like on shifts. And because of the split, you know, it was quite acrimonious at the time. It's absolutely fine now. Everybody loves each other again. But everyone wanted to prove that they were the best. Yeah. Our songs are the best. These are the ones that are going to make the hit. So it was like working in a kind of volcano of ideas and excitement, and fast. I arrived back in Sheffield after Martyn asked me to join M17 from London. I arrived back on the Monday. And by the following Friday, we had finished, recorded, completely done Fascist Groove Sang, 5 days. Yeah. Wow. And it was ready to go. And the rest of the album kind of followed that pattern. So,
and was it partly because it was probably a time where you felt quite liberated creatively? Because particularly for you, Martyn, coming out of Human League and going, actually, we're going to do our own thing here.
Well, we had a kind of, well, it wasn't unwritten rule. It was a written rule. We actually had it on the wall. We had a manifesto almost saying, you know, everything has to be electronic, i.e. no guitars, drums, anything like that. No songs about love, couldn't have that, etc., etc. There's a bunch of stuff, and it was semi-serious, but it was real. And then, of course, as soon as 717 started, it was like getting out of jail.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we could have bass. We're all big fans of funk and soul. So incorporating those elements into our new stuff was like a joy. Because we were all going clubbing all the time, weren't we? And that was the stuff we were listening to. We weren't listening to electronic music except at home. In the clubs, it was all, black American import music.
Yeah.
So the thought that we could incorporate that into what we were doing, all bets were off, and we could do anything we wanted, real piano, anything. And so the first album is like a kind of hybrid. In fact, the second side of Penthouse and Pavement were the original done when we were in the Human League. Actually, there were the original backing tracks. We just wrote different top lines over the top. The first side was the new direction, with the Lindrum and the real bass and guitar and blah blah blah.
Just out of interest, you've touched a little bit on this, but what are your musical interests? What would you like to listen to aside from what you're doing?
Kind of for me, I like a lot of film music. Kind of always have, so composer, film music. I still very much enjoy listening to David Bowie, and a lot of black dance music. It's kind of always been the same way, really.
Well, you've got a lot of connections with Bowie because you were in the, maybe still are in the Holy Holy tribute band.
That's right. We're playing in May, actually. We started a tour in May.
Yeah.
We were all massive fans of Bowie.
Yeah, sure. Well, wasn't he the first gig that you went to?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Bolan and we were Bolan and Bowie, I think, pretty much same week, same time.
Electric Warrior period.
Yeah, fantastic.
Amazing. So to perform those songs is something else.
And David, it was with the full consent of David that we played. And in fact, just before he died, we were playing, and no one knew he was ill, by the way. Only Tony Visconti knew, but nobody else knew. And we were playing live in New York at the Highline Ballroom, and it was David's birthday. And just on a spur of the moment thing, I said to Tony, phone David, I'll get the audience to sing Happy Birthday. So Tony did, he called David, and I got the audience to sing Happy Birthday. So it was amazing, brilliant. It was a fantastic gig. So much fun, so much love. We then got on the tour bus, 15, 16 hours to Toronto, or whatever it is. I was then got in a hotel at some time in the morning, woke up at maybe 3 or 4 in the morning by someone from the BBC asking for a quote on David's death. And I had no idea. And literally I sung Happy Birthday to him, what seemed to me 2 or 3 hours ago.
Wow.
I know, it was incredible. So we all then met in Tony's room, and he told us about what had happened, and he knew that David was ill, he hadn't got long left. And he said, but I've spoken to David about this. He wants us to carry on. Do you all want to carry on? It's up to you. It's obviously going to be difficult from now on, doing all the, we'd still got half a tour to do, kind of like 10, 12 gigs. Everybody said, yes, we'd love to do it. We want to carry on. And I can honestly say it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done, on stage. Standing there and watching, because all the gigs were totally sold out immediately. All the days off were cancelled and extra gigs were put in. And I was standing there with all this grief and love and worship that has really nothing to do with me, but it was being focused at me. And I found it so... I felt like just like saying... I'm not him. It's not me.
But knowing his support of it,
yeah.
I mean, what a privilege as well. Do you know?
Oh, it was, yeah. It was really, it was really good. And another lovely phone call I got from Tony once was when he was playing David, the live version of us doing the Man Who Sold the World album. And he called me, and I could hear it on in the background, and he said, I just wanted you to know David's dancing about the studio listening to you singing.
Amazing.
I know. I was like, oh, thank you, Tony.
That's all I need to hear.
That's it.
Yeah, that's great. Now, Martyn Ware, Glenn Gregory from Heaven 17. Can I just say good luck with the tour? Starts on November the 6th. It goes right across the UK. Tickets are on sale now. Thank you both for coming in.
Thank you so much.
This is